Hi, my name's Carter Razink, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of DropChain. Today, we're going to be talking about how to mint your first NFT or token using the DropChain API. If you haven't yet, create a free account at dropchain.network and do the quick start tutorial. That'll get you started and ready and set up to do all of the functionality that we're showing to you today. You can build this both no code and code, but for this example, we're going to use JavaScript. And so we have a Python SDK. You can use this here. We're probably going to have another set of videos showing this off, but for now, we're using the JavaScript fetch functionality. And just like any post request, this is just going to be a very commonly formatted piece of code, right? You have an API key here that you grab from your console.dropchain.network. We've generated one right now. You can hit generate key and make your own. Again, don't expose this. This is for educational purposes. You'll have to make your own if it's ever exposed. For now, this will be deleted by the time you see this. And then you also need your information in the body that is grabbed from your console. So your app ID, for example, or your user ID, your session one token, something you worry about when you launch your app publicly. And so for now, you're going to use your app ID and your user ID as your test accounts here. So you'll have your user 1 ID, user 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have an app ID at the bottom left, and then at the top as well. And so you're going to see this version copied into, we have an asset mint page here, right? So we have this tutorial app, but you don't need to use this to get this implemented. This allows, you can do this kind of with any app that uses JavaScript or can send API requests, including no-code apps. But in this example, we're going to set up the body of your asset mint request. And so first things first, we're going to copy the app ID. We're going to copy the user ID. And like I said, please set up your quick start guide with the link below. Create an account because there's going to be some stuff you have to do before this will work, like getting tokens for gas. But we're going to take this user ID, and that's it for the console. We also need to include information about the token or NFT you want to mint. And so the first thing that we're going to try to mint is, let's try to do a copy of Bitcoin using the DropChain API. Now, obviously, it's not going to be worth anything because we're just making a copy, but we're going to try to do the same dynamics, same amount of supply and same naming, right? And so Bitcoin has 21 million total tokens that can exist. And then it also has 8 decimal places. And so you'll notice 2 fields here, the created asset amount integer or int. And that means this has to be an integer. It's like string, but assume that within the string there's an integer. You can set it as both technically, but we're going to keep it as a string for ease of understanding. And then decimals is how many decimals after or within 1 unit exist. And so for Bitcoin, there are 8, which means if we have 21 million tokens, we're going to do 1 decimal place. And then we're going to do 8 decimals after, which means we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And because this is an integer, we can count this one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then we have to remove the decimal. And then we have 100 here, 1,000, and then 1,000,000, 21 million. And so we're going to create 21 million tokens with 8 decimals. And this is configured the way that we would want to have it if we were going to copy Bitcoin. We'll also do after this a version of an NFT. And so you'll kind of see what that looks like as well. And for sneak peek, it's going to be 1 here because you only want to make 1 thing that's an NFT that you're creating. And then it's going to be 0 decimals because it can't break into any pieces. You can ignore the metadata hash for now. Asset name we're going to call DropChain Bitcoin. And then for unit name, we're going to call DBTC, DropChain Bitcoin. URL, we're going to go to dropchain.network. And you can add any of your social information here if you want to. And we're going to leave that blank as well. And so after you change this, we're going to click Command S for Mac, Control S for Windows. And we talked about this in the other video, but you're gonna either add this directly to your script that you're running, or you're gonna, in this case, we have an app set up with the DropChain tutorial app that sends it to the back end and then adds this API key to the headers so that it's secure and it has the information needed so that we can tell that it's coming from your app. Because we're in the pages section here, we are going to go to localhost, which is our app, our front end app running right now. And then we're going to go to asset mint. And this is going to create a test app for you to try out your API calls. Once we save this, this is going to send a request to the DropChain API, and then it's going to execute your asset mint on your behalf. And there we go. We see all of our information. And some information to consider is asset one ID is a unique identifier for your asset. Only this asset we just minted, the asset we just created has the ID, 414393338, right? There is no other tokens that exist that have ever been minted that has this specific unique asset ID. And so when you mint this for the first time, you need to save this, or you can grab it from with Asset Indexer. But this is going to be unique so that when you want to send it to someone else, you need to have this on hand. That's going to be your identifier. We're going to take this transaction ID and copy it. And then we're going to go to testnet.algoexplorer.io, and we're going to try and see what does this look like on the Block Explorer. This is the testnet that we use for DropChain to try out these API calls. And you can see all the information we've provided is here too, right? And just like we said, we're making 21 million. We have 21 million DropChain Bitcoin. We have 8 decimals, which means that each unit of these can be broken into 8 pieces. Or rather 8 decimals, worth of pieces. It's 100 millionth of one. And there we go. We created our first token. Now let's do it again, except now we're going to make an NFT. We don't change the app ID. We don't change the user ID. We're going to do an NFT, so we only want one of these so that it's unique. And for decimals, we want 0, so that there can only be one unit. So we have 1 unit in the asset amount integer. We have 0 decimals within the created asset decimals. We're gonna call it like DropChain NFT, and maybe we're gonna call it just like DNFT, and then we're gonna keep everything the same. And so we're gonna go back to asset mint, and then we're gonna click send request. And this is gonna allow us to mint a new token, a new NFT in this case. And this is the process you're gonna go through, whether with code or with our other no-code solutions, to mint your first NFT or token, whether that's just for your first NFT collection, maybe you wanna create your own art. We actually have future information on how to add metadata to it, so an image, a description, information about maybe there's traits if you have a game. But for now, we're just minting an NFT, and we're just trying to get a hold of this, another unique asset ID that is different from the one we just minted. And then we're gonna copy the transaction ID, and we're gonna go and we're gonna look at this process. So exactly like we put information in the DropChain NFT, we have DNFT. There's only one that exists. It can be broken up into 0 pieces, and there we go. That's all there is to it. You have just created your first token or NFT without needing to know anything about Web3. No smart contracts needed, no confusion about how do I deploy this. You don't need to have gas because we handle that for you. And if you haven't already, please create an account on DropChain.network. We love to help you. Join the Discord. This is how you get started to build your first Web3 app, and you can do this immediately. And you have a lot more, a lot faster of a deployment process than compared to traditional blockchains like on Ethereum. We make the process easy for you. So holler if you need any other help. Join the Discord if you have any other questions. We're happy to answer them, and leave a comment if you have any other questions. Thanks.